Welcome back to part 1 of the making of the F-14. Today we're going to cover building the body.
What is this? This is not a F-14.
Alright, so this is the SR-71 Blackbird by Rui B. Rui.
No. Rui Rabui? Yes, Rui Barui. Rui, what? Rui Ribui. Oh, Rui Ribui.
So this is the SR-71 Blackbird by Rui Ribui. And this is why I rebuilt the F-14. Look at this thing. This is amazing. See the hookups? So somebody loaded this on the multiplayer dedicated server, and I was like, wow, I haven't checked this out. And so, as you can see, it's got the carts. And if we go up here, we've got the ladder. And we have this amazing cockpit. And everything looks really cool. And so what I liked about this is it had these hookups to start the engines. And I thought, wow, I've never seen that in a build. And so every time I see something that I've never seen, it gets me excited. I was like, you know what? I should look at the F-14 and see if we can add this kind of thing, because I was playing with the DCS F-14 by Heatblur. I was like, yeah, let's do something with like a chief, a ground chief. But the reason I built the F-14 is because of this plane, the HE-111. In October 2018, I was working on this plane, and guess what happened? As usual, on a Friday, the devs issued a patch that broke the game, actually breaking aircraft engines, and so the weekend was spent either working on a broken plane that couldn't get off the ground, or looking at the recently added jet engines and seeing what we could build. And that's where we came to the F-14. Let's get over here. So this is the original F-14 I built. As you can see, it's got a pretty blocky front end, and pretty much using all the little tiny blocks that we originally had, and it's broken. But besides that fact, it turned out okay. It looks better from the top view. But what's interesting about this plane is, I guess the air surfaces worked a bit better back then, because it used to go up and down. Now it doesn't go up and down anymore. And look at this crazy stuff. Inside, I had a lot of logic. Look at that, I even wrote glove, that's funny. And then I had this weight block that would shift depending on when the wings went forward and backward. And of course we had the scrapes on the wing. Now let's move on to the new F-14. And we're going to talk about how these planes were built. You can see there's a big difference in the look and feel of the plane. We have new blocks, so that made a big difference on the island area here, and the little bit of the wings, and of course the front end. So, oh, and we added this cool part right here. So let's go ahead and talk about how these are built, because that's what part 1's about. It's about building the bodies, not about the insides, just the outsides. Alright, so there are 3 ways to build a plane. There is doing it by eye, and maybe looking at a photograph and getting the idea, and kind of like sculpting out of blocks to get the shape you want. So the second way to build a plane, which is how this plane was built, and that plane over there, is TPP, Text, Pixels, and Photographs. And I'm going to link to my original video series, How to Build a Realistic Plane, which shows you step by step how to do it. But I'm going to briefly go over it here and use maybe some video clips from the original video series. But the idea is you find information on the plane you're building, you find a silhouette of the top of the plane, either a drawing that's detailed or a real-life photograph from the top down, and then you get the size of the wingspan. And so in Stormworks, 4 blocks is 1 meter. So for example, if the wingspan is 20 meters, you times that by 4, you're going to have 80 blocks of wingspan. So what you're going to do is you're going to take that top-down image, go into your photo editing program, and you're going to size by the wingspan. After you've cropped the plane, you're going to size that wingspan to 80 pixels width or height, depending on what direction your picture is facing. And you're going to use this pixelated version to build the layout of your plane's wings, tails, and body. Now it's going to be flat, of course, so you're not going to get the details of top and bottom. But what you can do is you can go ahead and get a silhouette of that plane, and then do it by the length of the plane. So again, if it's 10 meters or whatever, times it by 4, and get that length, and go ahead and then get that pixelated silhouette and use it to build the profile of your plane. Then of course, using photographs, you're going to fill in all the blanks of the engines, shapes, and the top and the bottom and all the details. So that's how these 2 planes were built by TPP, Text, Pixels, and Photographs. I like saying it, I don't know why. But here we go with the new F-14. So this plane was built in the third way that you can build a vehicle in Stormworks, which is now 3D importing. So these two were built off text, pixels, and photographs, and this one was built off a 3D model. But in my case, I like to use the original version that I worked on, and so it is actually built on the original F14 and then the 3D imported model. And I guess we should go ahead and show you how to do that because I think it's been updated. So let's go ahead and jump into the hole builder to show you what it looked like. Alright, so we are at the web page for the Stormworks hole builder, and it was built to make ship holes. So as you can see here on the right side, it actually comes with a default ship hole that you can resize inside of the program. Kind of looks like, I guess, like this. And you can resize it and export it, and then you can build your ship, and that was what it was originally built for. But of course it allows the importing of 3D models, and that's what we're going to use it for. I'm going to go ahead and download it because I don't think I have the latest version. When you click the download button, it's going to pop this up, and it's going to allow you to donate to the author of the program. I already did that, so I'm going to go ahead and hit no thanks, just take me to the downloads. But if you're going to use this program, please donate at least $1 or $5, whatever, if you're going to regularly use this, because he's spending time on this and you're using his program, so you should donate. So I'm going to go ahead and hit no thanks, just take me to the downloads and download the latest version. Alright, so once it's downloaded and you unzip the file, you have a directory and you have the Stormworks hole builder. Just load it up, and let's check out the new interface here. Loading, loading, loading. Oh, look at that. Fancy logo. So once it loads, it has a ship hole that you can edit or you can export. The size over here, you can, make it bigger or smaller, 31 blocks, or whatever size you want, and you can use that to build a ship. But what I want to do is I want to find my F14 model. So I'm going to select the F14 here and see if it loads. Alright, so it loaded, but as you can see, it came in at a crazy angle. So we're going to turn this to 90. Okay, and turn this to 270. Yeah. Alright, so when it comes in, it might be messed up, or it might come in nice. I don't know if this is the same model I used or not. But anyways, we have a width of 15 blocks and a length of 15 blocks. Now what you can do is you want to get your length of your wings. I don't know what this one actually is, but we're going to just bump it up by 2. So now we have a length of 30 and a width of 30. So what you want to do is get the length and the width as close as you can to the real vehicle that you're building. But you're going to want to make sure that this is at least wide enough to get your seats in. So I'm not really sure how big the Tomcat is right now, but I'm going to go ahead and show you what it looks like when you generate. You can turn on smoothing, or you can just leave it no smoothing. I usually turn on smoothing, and I'll just generate the model. Takes a bit, and when it's done, you can see that it starts giving you the hints of the model. And let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so this is not wide enough, so let's go even wider. I just want to show you what it looks like. Okay, generation, generate. Alright, that looks a bit better. And we've got a width of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we want this to be an odd number because we want a center of the plane. So this is still not quite wide enough. So we can go ahead and bump it up a little bit more. And generate again. And the reason we want to do that is we want the plane wide enough to put our, our components in, our seats and all that stuff, but we also want to make sure that it is an odd width because we want a center block, because most of the components inside Stormworks are centered and not uneven. In the game, what's the other game called? The space one? Oh, Starship Evo? Everything's built even, so you'd want an even number of blocks on both sides because it will translate when you put your stuff in. Okay, so now the plane is starting to look better. As it gets bigger, it's getting more details. And then if we look over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have an odd number of blocks. So this is a model I would probably export, depending on what the width of the wings is. And I would start working on that. Alright, so real quick, if you want to export this model, you'll hit export. You'll change this path to your Stormworks vehicle data path and hit generate XML, and that's it. Alright, so let's go over to Stormworks. So we're back in Stormworks, and here is the imported 3D model. And as you can see, it is ugly, it's a mess, And we won't be using most of this. We're just going to use it for shape hints. So like this is really important for me because the nose was really difficult to get right, and I spent a lot of time on that. So if we compare this to the TPP model, let's load it up. All right, here is the original model of the F-14 that I built. And if we just line it up, what I like to do is I like to see how close I came to getting the right measurements just based off of text and pictures. So if we line it up, okay, that looks about right. And look at that. Okay, I'm just gonna paste it in here so we can see. So it looks like a mess, but you get an idea of how close you can come to building a model out just by using text, pictures, and the pixel layout to get the model going. So the way I built this, if I load up something else, so the way I started building this model, and I think this is more of a finished model, of course you can see, is I put the 3D model up top, I put my original F-14 down below, and I started taking parts that I liked and fixing it and using as reference, and just basically cleaning up everything. I mean, this one is pretty far along. I guess I didn't keep a copy of the old one. But the idea here is if you use 3D imported objects, you're going to have to clean them up to make them look like not 3D imported objects, and you're going to have to make them look nice to the eye, because 3D imported objects is basically just taking data from the mesh points and putting a block there. So it's not going to look right if you just import a 3D model. A lot of people do, and you get that really jaggedy look. So what you have to do is basically use it as a reference point and find out where your tail is, find out where your wings are, and then clean them up to the way you like them. This is the original, and you can see that with the new blocks that Stormworks added, we get a nicer sloped back end, and we get a nicer nose area here as well. And I think even the tail's a little bit nicer. Also, if we look at this, you can see that this is an older version. You see my island here is kind of ugly. If we look at the newer one, the final version, you can see that it has a lot of different changes here. Let's go into pink mode here. And you can see the island is cleaned up here. The nose, I spent a lot of time getting the nose to look good. Basically deleted the 3D model's nose and just kept working on it to get the right shape. And then of course we have the wings and the tail. And the tail was cleaned up quite a bit here. This changed a lot over time during the filming of the video and then the last part of getting it finished. What is that? Oh, that's a display meter. I guess I have to delete that. So anyway, I just want to show you how this plane was built. It's actually a bit of both 3D model and the original F-14. And of course, if you're using 3D models, you're going to want to use photo references to clean up the body and make it as close to a good looking vehicle as you can inside Stormworks. Because basically in Stormworks, you are making a pixelated version of a real world vehicle. There's no way around it. I mean, there are people modding the blocks to make it look a little bit smoother, but you know, in the end, you are making a pixelated image of a plane or a car or a truck or whatever you're making in a blocky game. So keep that in mind, that you're going to have to just use your imagination for some parts. Like, for example, I did not want to use the Stormworks rudder, so inside is where the rudders are. So I wanted to keep this look as, you know, pixelated perfection as I could. So just to give you an idea. All right, so I think the only thing left to cover on building the body is that it does use third-party components like the missiles, and those are linked below. And these are different kinds of missiles. And I think that's about it for the third-party parts on the body. There are some third-party parts for the panels, but we'll be covering that in another video. Oh, we haven't covered this. So this is what I built based on the 1980s charging car and air car. I think this is an oxygen cart. I actually couldn't find really good pictures of these, but I ended up finding a toy that had these, and then later on I actually found a manual for this thing, which is kind of funny. But yeah, if you want to see those, I'll link to them if I can't find them again. But yeah, so these are built. I mean, they're kind of ugly. Let's turn this off. They're kind of ugly, but these are what they look like. They were very boxy, and yeah, that's what they used for ground operations. I don't think they used these on the carrier, but they did use them for ground operations at like an airfield. So, all right, so I think that's it. Let's get out of here. All right, well, that's it for today. I just wanted to show you how the body was built and what techniques were used to build it. You might want to go ahead and visit the links below to watch the How to Build a Realistic Plane tutorial, which uses TPP, text, pixels, and photographs to build it. And there is a 3D import tutorial as well that I'll link to, but it's a little old. The program's been updated, but the idea is roughly the same. You import it, resize it, export it, and then try to clean it up. That's it. All right, so that is it. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit the bell so it goes ding dong when I upload a video. And if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so, and I will see you next time.
Bye! Oh my gosh, 3 more videos to do!